Everybody. After watching the stream last week, I wanted to come back in and review and rewatch the fights just a little bit slower speed, um, a little bit more in depth, so I could see some of the wonderful things and the wonderful details that I might have missed actually watching it live, especially through a screen. Doesn't You don't get to see everything you might want to see. Even now, I'm not going to be able to see everything that I want to see, but there were so many cool things that people were doing, their stances, their fights, their strikes, their blocks. Like everybody was really showing off all the tremendous progress they've made in the last year. And so I just want to rewatch it and go through some of my thoughts. I'm going to try to annotate, comment, point things out. I'm not going to be able to catch everything because I don't know what everyone's thinking about or working on or whatever. I guarantee I'll probably miss something. I might get something wrong as I pay attention. But hey, this is a learning experience for me. I'm just trying to take some time to study out what everybody was doing. So unfortunately, I missed the first kind of half of round one, so I missed out on a few fights. But the stream kind of popped up right about the time Luna and Lacana were coming out, so we're going to start right here with this fight, and we'll go from there. So let's just dive right into it. And as I do with just getting right into the fights themselves, I apologize for this stream. The first little bit is a little sketchy, uh, but what I really like about watching Velcana and Luna fight is that they're very uh, different from one another. Um, Luna fights pretty low, keeps her sword down, and Velcana fights pretty high. He keeps his sword down, but he always tends to bring it back up. That kind of opens up targets up top by Luna keeping her sword down and Velcana striking up. But Luna has some tricks up her sleeves that I'm sure we'll see a little bit later. So next up is Martin and Tilly. What's really fun about Martin and Tilly is that again they're contrasting styles. Tilly is usually a little bit more defensive. Let's see, and part of this, and I know Martin's just stepping, but what I wanted to point out is you can usually pick this out with fencers, and these guys are really good examples of this. Is someone who's offensively minded and someone who's a little bit more defensively minded. And it usually comes down to their stance. Um, Martin had just stepped, but you can see how much his stance is leaning forward into his front foot. I mean, you can see just in his body how much of that lean he has going on. Whereas Tilly, she'll typically have a bit of a wider stance, and you can just barely tell in this fight with how she's addressing Martin. Her weight tends to be on her back foot. If you can see that in fencers between the weight on the front foot, their wide stance or a narrow stance, and then their kind of how they're leaning, can give you an indication of whether or not someone's being offensively focused or defensively focused. Now, what's really fun about these fights, though, is that Martin is looking for opportunities, and Tilly does have does bring the fight to Martin, and it turns things around. So those quick strikes are really fun to watch. Again, you're seeing that lean from Martin as he comes in, goes for that quick strike, and Tilly was waiting for it. She knew it was coming, but Martin's speed and his accuracy with those strikes just kind of broke through her defense, and she had the right angle, she had the right reaction to kind of push it offline and come in, but Martin just beat her to it. Okay, so Jaka and Elydri next. And so immediately, if you're paying attention to the same thing, you just watch their stances. You can see how Elydri's wider stance. She might be leaning forward, but you can see that she's putting more of that pressure um, into kind of pulling back. But again, it's weird because you can tell that she's being defensive, but her weight seems to be on the front foot. But what's really interesting about this fight is watching how Jaka brings the fight to her every time. Like, she's waiting for him to come in. He's bringing it. He's not wasting any time. Jaka wants to bring the fight to you, to overwhelm you, to kind of get those strikes in as he approaches, whereas Elydri is, from the looks of it, waiting for Jacob to come in to rebuff his strikes and then get a return attack. Ooh, just like that. You see how he comes in and immediately Elydri goes into a blocking position and her sword comes out as that return. She's hoping to get that kill on that return line. Yeah, and right there, she's bunkering down. Jacob is stretching himself out forward, getting ready to pull in. But I think Elydri is doing really well on rebuffing those strikes. She's waiting for it. She's returning on those attacking lines in a way that makes it tough for Jacob to defend with only a single sword. Those are really beautiful lines for any fencer to take. Is after someone strikes at you, that line along that same attack back at them is usually a really good opportunity, and block attack combos work wonders. So, ooh, see again, you see how he strikes, she gets a block in, and then she immediately returns. That block attack combo led Elydri into a victory, which is super cool. So next up we have Zarka and Ulvade. Now what I really love is Zarka has set up a very defensive stance. She is preparing for Ulvade's offense. Now Ulvade, on the other hand, he is really good at probing, throwing out all these shots. He's looking and watching to see what Zarka's going to do, but he's also waiting for an opportunity to close that distance in, or get those nice shots in. I think they're calling something weird. So point of honor with whatever they decide. Anyways, so they get started. So you see Ulvade, he's probing. Now, when it comes to offensive and defensive fighters sometimes have an advantage because offensive fighters can sometimes get impatient. After like a couple blocks, sometimes you just really want to get in and strike. Good. One ask, one tell. I'm sure they were debating it, but that's what went. But anyways, so which can really give an advantage to a defensive fighter because that impatience leads to not always the best opportunities. Ulvade, though, on the other hand, he is patient. Like, he will probe and probe and probe and probe and probe and move and talk and joke, and he's such a fun fight. But he doesn't just throw away a shot. Like, he's looking. Oh, that was nice. Reached in, used his tip of his sword, which he's so good at, to kind of redirect. And Zarka did so well defending that. I mean, being legged is so tough. Trying to defend yourself and waiting for your opponent coming, you're really at their mercy. But she did so well to defend all those strikes from Ulvade. It was just that quick redirect or disengage from Ulvade that got that kill. Alright, so it looks like Edward and Shay. I think it ended up being where Shay was doing all the non-lethal buys. That's from what I heard about. So, let's see. So, what's really fun about these guys is, and what you're watching for, is Edward, in particular, is really good about having a conversation with his blade. Like, having that ching, 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 ching. He's really good about that. And it can lead to a lot of opportunities because that conversation in these small actions can lead to opponents kind of having their sword off where they might not want to be without realizing it. And that can give him opportunities. He's also very focused right now. You can see it. You can see that forward lean. You know that he's looking for strikes. He's the one dictating, when am I going to attack? Shay, though, is doing a really good job in these conversations at having a really strong center line. She's using her sword and her offhand to really defend that center and that part, from the torso, the mid torso up. The other thing that Shay's doing really well is keeping Edward back by having this extended blade. She's given up. She's kind of indicated what her range is, at least now, unless she engages her feet. But she's put her sword out there and saying, "Edward, stay back, stay back. I don't want you to be close to me right now. I want you to stay back at me until I'm ready to do something. And so having that sword out there is keeping Edward a little bit at bay, probably more than he wants to. So let's see what happens. Boom. Very nice quick strikes. Again, that conversation, and he's just, even micro advances led into strikes off little angles. He's just conversing, going in for those kills, trying to just do micro advances, and Shay's defense is pushing him back more than, got an arm. So again, those little sword conversations, looks like he armed her completely. So yeah, those quick conversations out here, you don't have to necessarily get close enough to get the kill, but he's having that point control to be able to, oh, look, it is round 2. Excellent. But yeah, the point control, ching, going for the arm. And worked out. It's really impressive. So I think they both succeeded at what they wanted to do. Shay kept Edward back, but Edward's conversation led his, he brought his tip in just enough to arm Shay. So they both did what they wanted, but it just worked out in Edward's favor. So it looks like, yep, Silas is doing another non-lethal buy, and it looks like Shay again. Excuse me. So again, I think what we're going to see here is, again, Shay's going to be very defensive in maintaining that center line, but Silas is really good at circular motions. He takes angles really well. He uses his feet, uses his sword, controls his blade very well. Do you see that? He shot, but it wasn't a direct straight in. He tends to strike, but then bring his arm up. That changes the angle of the attack. That you might defend the first angle, but changing it up you might miss that, and he might get that kill in, which is really good. A change of angle mid-strike is really impressive. Oh, man. And Shay, again, she's using that extended reach to indicate and keep her opponent back. So she's keeping Silas back. And she changes how her angle of her sword to, so, yeah. Sorry. She's keeping her sword down, drawing Silas in, and then she brought her sword up. Just to prevent any further advances, but yeah. Worked out for Silas. Alright, so we got Robin and Tilly. Now this is what's so good about Tilly. Tilly jumps between defense and offense really well. She's really solid defensively, but when she wants to go on the offense, like, she will. And she's really good at closing distance too, and I think we just saw that a little bit more, and she's bringing the fight to Robbie. Oh, there it is. Yep. Okay, hold on. I want to give props to Robin in this moment. I mean, Tilly's press was impressive, pun intended. But watch Robin's offhand specifically. His ability to maintain contact with Tilly's sword and control it, and just follow it even. He had his hand in the right place at the right time and kept with Tilly's blade through that whole exchange, and kind of extended that moment, because a press and a close in is really it's a short amount of time. If you can kind of run the clock a little bit, you can usually get the offensive person who's attacking you to kind of reset. So again, watch Robin's offhand as Tilly closes distance. Again, see, he's following it right along. Tilly gets the kill in, but yeah, he followed it right along. Okay, right there. So again, Tilly is so good at bringing the sword in that because shorter sword, she's so good with their hinges, she can maneuver the sword in close better than most. But Robin's offhand was keeping her back, and it kept him alive. It was awesome. Nice. Real quick, really good point control on Tilly's part. It's not always about getting a solid strike in. Sometimes it's about leaving your sword engaged and maneuvering the tip around long enough that you can then advance a little bit further and get the kill. And that's what Tilly did. She struck, moved her tip around, and then got the kill a few moments later. Sorry about that. Okay, we got Luna and Dawn fighting. And this is what I was talking about earlier when Luna first started. She keeps her sword down low, and Dawn keeps his sword up high. Height. I mean, it's just part of it. But what Luna does really well is she maintains contact with her blade. Robin kept contact with his hand. Luna keeps contact with her blade. So you can see that Luna is trying to take control of Dawn's blade. Yep, just right there, and walk in. It's a really safe move. If you can maintain contact with your opponent's blade, it's a really safe way to close distance because you know where their sword is and you're using your sword to defend yourself as you close distance. And so you see she's trying to do that, and it's a really good way for her to close that distance against Dawn and to negate some of his range. Dawn, on the hand, is playing really well, taking very methodical steps to retreat, to watch out for that closing distance, to make sure that he still has the ability to move his sword effectively, but he also has a really good tip control. Having that foil experience allows him to kind of maneuver things in and around and bring um, that sword back into play. And I think that's I think they might have gotten a double at some point, but you can if you really pay attention to Dawn, even though he's retreating, he's whipping that tip around so well that you can sometimes pull it back in, and then you'll see him kind of reach back out to get the kill, or all of a sudden the Luna or the attacker will go like, "Oh, crud! I wasn't prepared for that. I better retreat." Very nice fight. All right, so yep, that fight went to Dawn. And so next up is Shay and Art. Let's see what we notice with these guys. Okay, so again, you see Shay's using her reach. She's defending that upper half. And boom. Oh, that was awesome. Okay, here's something really fun about Art. And you can see it in this fight is despite so talking about height for a second. So typically taller fencers go high. I mean, like the taller you are, the more likely you are to just strike it, at that higher range. So you go for the heads, you go for torsos or anything like that, which can then lead other fencers to really focus in on that defense of their head and upper torso. Shay has worked on this a lot, so she's really good at defending herself against taller fencers. And you can see it in that strength of that center line and how she stands. Art, though, even though he's tall, he goes low. You saw it. You can see it in the strike. And so watch when Art comes back in to fight Shay. You'll see that you'd think that he would go high, but no, he strikes mid torso and goes down low. What this does is this subverts that expectation of defense that Shay might have, and can sometimes go under her defenses and go for that lower torso shots. He also has a lot of range, so it means he can strike from farther away and come in fast. So again, let's watch, and you'll see how Art takes those shots mid and then goes down rather than going up. Nice, yeah. Struck here, struck there. You see, strike up and then down rather than down and up. This can be tough because you can see that Shay had that really nice defensive line at the beginning, but in the course of the fight, it's kind of broken down a little bit. She knows that she's now coming down low. She's just come out of that stance. Boom, boom. See, strike up high and then come down low. And that led Art to victory. I mean, it's really impressive, and Shay adjusted really well for it, really quickly. But yeah, those quick low shots, they worked. They worked really well. All right, so next up we have Elydri and Olvade. Now, if I remember correctly, what's really fun about this fight in particular that I want to pay attention to is, again, Olvade's ability to wait for opportunities. and so you can see that when you're fighting someone like Elijah who's being that defensive, and right there, oh, okay, we'll go back a second. All right, so again, you can see that Elijah is being that defensive. You can see that as Olve begins to probe, she starts adjusting her weight from the front of her front foot to the back of her back feet, back foot. This kind of just indicates to Olve that she's really being, yeah, right there. She's reaching out, but you can see that shifting. Yep, right there. Yep, right there. So you can see how her stance has widened and that the weight is all coming down this leg. She's got a really strong guard up here, and she's bent down a little bit, which is really putting a lot of defensive area right here in this line, which is making it tough for Olve to break in. But here's the thing: is again we saw this with Jacob a little bit when Elijah was fighting Jacob. Elijah is waiting for that opportunity for them to come in, make a block attack combo, come back out. Olve though will wait. He'll wait for that opportunity, and I think we'll see that happen. That Olve doesn't just come in willy nilly. He's going to probe and prod and talk his way into the range where he can strike at you just as he enters. See, and he does this really well because the fact that he doesn't close in when Elijah returns and turns on him and pounces, he's far enough back that he can use his point control and his feet to retreat to safety, rather than being in a position where he might get killed if he were closer when Elijah does that block attack combo. So again, yeah, Olve is maintaining a lot of really good range with Elijah right now as he's looking for opportunities. And it's actually Elijah who's kind of turning around. She's coming around and going, I'm going to bring the fight to Olve this time. Let's see, again, he's watching. He's looking for those opportunities and he'll probe. See, and Elijah comes in. He's far enough back. He can make a quick few steps.
That's how you know it's serious. Elijah, untie his shoes.
Yeah, maintain the distance. He closes it just a little bit. Probes. Probes. Probes.
Are you sure?
Yeah, probing. He's reaching. I think Elijah might have got him, or they might have called it off.
I told you, this is the ultimate Elijah Tourney now.
And Olve's not afraid to use his silliness to his advantage. Like that was a really good defensive defensive footwork from Elijah. It was fast. Because I mean, if she kept that foot up for too long, Olve would have an opportunity because she's standing on one leg. But it was out of the way, back in immediately. It was really quick. It looks like Elijah got Olve. That return of the attack combo. She waited. They closed distance. He struck. She blocked. She returned. Really good. Maintaining distance. I think it's 1-1 right now. Right there. See, Elijah made the move that time. Olve had been playing out and waiting for opportunities, but Elijah made the move, and that gave Olve the opportunity to close in and get the kill. Which isn't bad, but you can see how it works. After a certain amount of time, you kind of throw yourself into the fight, and sometimes it works in your favor, sometimes it doesn't. Elijah maintained her defense so well throughout that whole fight, as Olve throws a lot of shots to probe. Alright, so next up we got Martin and Ladrona. Now what's really fun, and I've worked with Ladrona a lot on just knowing how she likes to fight. Her her refuse is her bread and butter. This stance right here, she loves this stance and she does so well with it. So you have that back foot in the front, you got your front foot in the back, you've got the sword kind of pulled back, your offhand is more forward here, and you're kind of really hunkering down. Now, what this does is it really kind of signals to your opponent, like, hey, if you get close to me, you're going to have to get really close before you can even do anything to my sword, which means, like, I'll have free reign to strike at you. Because normally when you want to press, you want to be able to address their blade, like Luna was doing, where take the control of the blade, move in. By being in that refuse stance, Ladrona is essentially saying that's not possible. Like, if you want to press, you got to take the risk that you're going to be able to catch my sword as I'm striking, not before. Now the thing is Martin, on the other hand, he's really good at seeing those opportunities. He knows that that's a threat, and so he doesn't throw it away easily. But additionally, Ladrona pounces from this stance. She can suddenly turn from that really bunkered down position and pounce on you really quickly. And so the question is whether or not that combo between being in the refuse stance until Ladrona is ready, and then pouncing at the right moment can overcome Martin's ability to see those kind of opportunities, his point control, and his presses. Yep. Martin also has such good control of his sword thanks to his cut and threats skills. Like, he can come in from almost any angle with that blade. And so that's always worrisome, because I mean, if you just get into a straight fight with Martin, like, you got to watch where his sword is going, because it doesn't just come from one direction. He will throw a lot of really good angles at you. So she's in that refuse saying, don't press me, until she's ready, and then she switches. She's still in that refuse stance saying, don't press me, and then she pounces, comes out of that refuse and pounces. Looks like she got the jump on Martin, and that works out so well. That refuse really kind of negated some of Martin's specialties of that presses and that closing distance. He's so good at. So good move on Ladrona's part. So next up we got Becca and Velkhana. Now, something I didn't mention about Velkhana that you can pay attention to is he's a power striker. He likes to wait, and he'll throw a strike. Boom! Yep, there was a power strike. What he's hoping for is he's waiting, throw the power strike. If he can get the kill off that one strike, he's happy as a clam. If not, he's going to press you a couple of times. So what you're watching for is that power strike. And if you can defend it, then you can usually have an opening. Now, Becca... Oh yeah, just right there. So Becca is really good about waiting, and she'll take a lot of abuse for, just by accepting the fact that she's going to get attacked by other fencers. Like, she'll take attacks, and she'll block them beautifully. But when she decides, she'll turn on you, and it's not just going to be a return attack. It's going to be a return attack followed by 3 others and a press at the same time, to the point where you just feel like, what just happened? And so you're looking at Velkhana, who's power striking, trying to break through Becca's defense before Becca decides to turn it on Velkhana. He's waiting. He keeps his sword low, and he likes this one shot. He likes a particular shot like that, coming down from low up to high. See, Becca turned on Velkhana, and you could see it. She wasn't just going to stop there. She was going to press. She was going to attack. But Velkhana kept his point in and got a really good shot on her head. Alright, so next up we got Blaze and Maytag. This is a really fun fight, and a really fun type of fight to watch, because you have Maytag and Blaze, who are pretty offensive in their styles, but Maytag has height and range, and he does have speed with his strikes, but his goal is to use his range and his strikes to keep you back. If he can keep you back, that's exactly where he wants you to be, and he has the advantage. Blaze, on the other hand, he uses his speed and his footwork to quickly retreat, but then immediately return on you and close that distance, just like he did there. And so the question is whether or not Maytag can use that range and keep him back. See, because Blaze has to stay back, and then Blaze returns. So quick strikes. Blaze, Maytag, that was wonderful. You know, yeah. So you can see that action. Like Blaze wants to use that speed to quickly return and negate Maytag's speed range. Using that quick footwork. And so from my record, it showed that that worked for Blaze. Maytag does it really well by maintaining that range, and he can get a lot of kills and do really well because he keeps his opponents exactly where he wants to, where he has all the advantage, and it's really tough to break into his range at times. Alright, so next up, I think this is the last fight of round 2. This is Veron and Edward. Now, the thing that I really like to watch for when I'm watching Veron is how he brings mentality into the fight. Right there, he physically, even without engaging his sword, will assert dominance on the fight, and can kind of claim ownership of I'm in control. His movements, his things, it really kind of it's really easy for Veron to claim dominance, and it led into a moment where he could get that strike on Edward. Now the thing is at this moment, Edward's defense is so on par. I mean, Veron has this uncanny ability to be so far away, and yet his flexibility and his range is so good that, especially for a legged fighter, you can almost do nothing about it because he's so far away, and yet he can still hit you. But Edward's defense kept like half a dozen shots from Veron at far away from getting in, and they're fast and they're quick, and and so that's really impressive. Additionally, Edward's sense of range and his ability to return, he plays with placement. He will stay out of range. If he senses you make an inch towards him and he's not ready, he'll move. But when he needs to close in, he'll go from out of range to close range in a second. That was a really good exchange in both their parts. You can see it. It's just strike, block, pass after pass. So good job on their part. So I think that went to Veron. I think it's just because Veron's range and that ability to strike from a distance as you're closing in can be so tough to overcome. Oh, yeah, this was a funny moment. Edward just finished fighting with Veron, and now he has to go back out and fight. Edward. Sorry. Darn stream. Anyways, Edward went out, and now he has to fight Maytag. So again, you're going to see Maytag trying to encourage Edward to stay back, to use that long reach, that long range of his. Even with a short sword, I mean, those long arms, those long strikes can keep him back. But Edward goes into that conversation. Let's see, Maytag is saying, I want you to stay away. That's where I want you. But Edward is probably looking for opportunities to really quickly close distance, and I think that's where he's going to get his kills. In that conversation, trying to push Maytag's blade offline just for a second, just long enough for him to close that distance. See, yep, a nice block attack combo. Got the legs. And so now Edward has negated Maytag's range almost completely. Can't move, he can't use his feet, can't lean the way he wants, and Edward gets to move where he wants to and gets the strike in. So right there, you're seeing it. Nice. That was really good footwork. The fading shot for Edward to come back in and reach in underneath, where Maytag may not have been defending as much, and to push that really threatening strike from Maytag offline, just enough to get that kill. That was impressive. Alright, next up we got Dawn and Silas. Alright. Again, I love watching Silas fight because of his angles. I like how he maneuvers his sword. It's so circular rather than linear. He's really good at those 7 and 8 blocks to kind of twist his sword in. You can see him almost going into a full 1 or 2 even when his sword is way up high.
Whether you like melee or dueling more.
And the thing is Dawn is so methodical with how he moves and how he steps. He doesn't waste his time with a lot of fancy footwork, but you can see that he'll take one step back, use his offhand really well, maneuver that point in, and then go right back into the strike. It's really impressive. Yeah, those nice long strikes from Dawn, trying to use his point control to disengage and get under and around Silas's blocks, and Silas's footwork is beautiful as always. He really takes advantage of a lot of different angles. It's not just left and right or back. It's a diagonal. It's over here. It's in an arc. It's really good. I don't know exactly what they're discussing, but reset. Right. Oh, there's something I swear I remembered seeing. Can't remember if it's this fight or not. Okay, I think they got a double and want to refight it. I think it's this next fight. Let me see if I can pay attention to it. Checking tips. Okay, I'm watching these. Yep, right. Is it? I want to see. So what I'm paying attention to specifically is Dawn's disengage game. He really knows how to. Right there. He really knows how to have his tip in, and he knows just the right moment to flick his tip of the sword to the other side. And so you see he's reaching out, and he also just got a quick disengage and goes in for the kill right at the moment. So it's super impressive. Okay, next up we got Becca and Tilly. So from what we're seeing again, based off of what we've seen already, Tilly's bringing the fight. She's wanting to close that distance, and it looks like Becca again she's trying to play that defensive game where she's going to rebuff those attacks until she's ready to turn it on you, and then she'll close distance. But Tilly's bringing it in really fast. She's not wasting any time wanting to close that distance. Yep, she brings it, steps, circles, brings it in, closes that distance. Just overwhelms. Nice. See, very nice. That was awesome. Becca rebuffed that whole thing. Like it was, you thought for sure that Tilly had it, but then Becca rebuffed it, turned it on her, and it was multiple attacks, closing distance the same in the other direction, and Becca got that kill. But again, can she do it again? Tilly's coming again. She's seeing that it's working. Oh, that was a beauty shot. You couldn't see it, but it looked like Tilly had hinged in. Maybe they were calling it off, or maybe it was not. Maybe it was a slap, but it was the right idea. So yeah, Tilly is seeing that pressing Becca is working. So I think that's why she's doing it over and over again. Is because unlike where Wakana was kind of standing back and striking, Tilly is closing that distance and forcing Becca to really defend herself in close. And Tilly's so good at those hinges that she can usually get it in. She's not giving Becca a lot of opportunity to wait for that prime moment. Yeah, again, close that distance until he can just hinge in and get that shot. Very nice. Alright, so it looks like we got Art and Elydri. So let's see if we're consistent. So if Art is consistently fighting mid and low, let's see how Elydri responds to that. Okay. See that little move? That little move kind of indicates Art jump back. He's kind of given Elydri the go-ahead to be like, I'm going to be the defensive one, you're going to be the offensive one. You see that more in Elydri's movement, but quickly turns it back around. Maybe I was wrong, but anyways, strikes mid. Elydri got a really good block. Returns. Dang it! Sorry. I want to read. Stop doing that. Alright, I wanted to see those. Alright, see. Art's quick lunges, pushing Elydri back. They're at bay. You can see her reaching out, trying to get that talent, saying, "Art, don't come near me. You know, don't keep pressing." And it is working. Like he's being forced to stick to 1, maybe 2 strikes before he has to reset. Turn, nice. Yep, she had attacked and he quickly returned on that returning strike. So it was a really quick back and forth. Art attacks, Elydri returns, he quickly returns, and that gets the kill. Alright, so this is Jaika and Shay. Let's see. And a finger. Interesting. Okay. So here's something that you might not if you've been paying attention how Shay's been fighting. She's been standing up a little bit more, but she has that really solid center line. If you're paying attention, this is very different, and she's doing it for a specific reason. She's increased her defense even more. Sorry. So what she's done here is, whereas normally she's kind of usually keeping her back fairly straight up, at this point she's kind of hunched over and bent forward. This one does give a little bit more offensive opportunities, but what it also does is puts more of her body behind her sword in her offhand. You can see it in the sense that you can see that, you know, by bending over, she's kind of negated some of those lower openings, and now more of her body is defended here behind her sword. And if Jaika wants to go for those lower openings or those lower targets, he has to go farther because Shay has bent over and, you know, pulled back a little bit. Yes, she's thrown her head a little more forward into the fight, but it's behind those really strong offhands and really strong offhand and sword. And so she's really kind of saying, like, I'm really tightening my defense and narrowing those openings for Jaika. And so the question is how are we going to see Jaika respond to that? Okay, so she's come out of it already, and she's using her sword to say to Jaika, "Don't stay back, stay back." Like we've seen her a little bit earlier, she's kind of fallen back into their comfort zone, and she's pulling in strikes to go after Jaika. You can't really do those presses when you're crunched up like that, so it makes sense that she's kind of come out of it after keeping Jaika at bay a little bit. She got his arm. Yep, really good press, and Jaika maneuvers his sword in to get the kill. Right, and she has her sword out. Jaika's maintaining distance. You can see he's not advancing as much. He's still trying, that's his tendency. But nice. But you can see that Shay's doing really well at keeping him back more than he probably would like. Oh, that was a beautiful shot. See, he lunged and brought in that low shot. He kind of bypassed Shay's strong center line defense to go for a lower target. Alright, we've got Ovaid and Martin now. Now these are fun because Martin and Ovaid have been fighting together for a long time. So familiarity and having an understanding of how each other fights usually brings out some of the best fighting because you know how each other works. I think we'll see it again later with some other fighters. Yeah. So what you have here is you have really nice press um, from Martin. And Olvade is probing. He's looking for opportunities, but the thing is, it's so challenging is that Martin can usually bring the fight before providing an opening. Yep. Look at that. Look at that angle shot. Look at those angles. I'm telling you, see Martin bringing the sword in, having like Martin had his. Oh, I want to just look at it again. Let's see. We're watching Martin. Olvade's probing, looking. Martin's not getting anything until that quick turnaround. Right there. Look at that. Look how impressive that is to have your sword up and just directly in, but also have your whole offhand crossed to the side, pushing Olvade's sword out of the way as you press in. Now Olvade, on the other hand, again, I don't know if I am getting the right results of this fight, but Olvade's also doing the right thing. Like his sword is controlled by Martin, but his offhand is up, ready to defend. So the question is whether or not he got his offhand engaged fast enough to defend against that shot that's coming in right here. But yeah, like that was excellent timing on Martin's part to jump in and go for that press. Yeah. Having some nice conversations, talking, and debates, analyzing, it's moving around, looking, probing, looking. It's like Olvade got a shot in. Really good to see kind of Olvade was ready for Martin to jump, and so he had his tip in fast. And really well. Alright, so looking and probing, probing. Martin's not having it. Ooh. Whew. Look at that. Look at that. Look how the commitment on Martin's part, even though he's falling down, like he stayed engaged in the fight. And Olvade did the right thing. One, safety-wise, backing away, but also because he knew Martin was still coming. Like Martin was falling, but he was still a threat. So backing away was the right move to do. That's another really good thing. Martin he's not afraid to use the space behind you. He'll move past you is part of his press. And a lot of people stop right in front of their opponent, but Martin will easily and take the opportunity to move past you and take advantage of that space, which I think got him a really good draw on Olvade from the looks of it. So next up we got Luna and Robin. So again, I'm watching Luna try to take control of Robin's blade. See, she's reaching out, kind of like trying to snag it, but Robin's not having it. He's not giving it up in the same way that Dawn was, which is keeping her from being able to take control and step in with that safety, and so she's staying back. But she's doing really good. She's maintaining her range really well. You can see that just the little half steps are keeping her safe from Robin's strikes. And Robin's doing well on keeping the pressure on Luna. He got that last kill, I think, so he was able to press and kind of prevent Luna from backing up. He kind of went faster than Luna was retreating. He advanced faster than Luna was retreating. Alright, now we got Zarka and, yep, again, non-lethal by Shay. But like I was telling with Martin and Olvade, this is a lot of fun because Zarka and Shay have been trained. They were apprentices together with Evelyn. But what's really fun about these opportunities is because if you get trained with someone on the same things at the same time, you get told the same thing. So the only difference is how your own perception of that training. But what it does is it also provides meta knowledge. It provides a really clear thing, like, oh, I know what you're doing. You're doing that move. But I also remember that we trained on how to bend, how to defeat that move. It's that classic Princess Bride mentality of like, You're using Bonetti's defense against me. It would work unless I studied my Greek or things like that. So with apprentices like that, you're fighting together, and can you use that meta knowledge to your advantage? Can you trick them? Can you bait them? Can you exploit something? Can you prevent something? Can you negate it? It's a lot of fun. Those fights are really interesting because of that meta knowledge aspect to it. So right now, Shay knows that she has all the advantage. She's toying with Zarka a little bit, trying to get her off her game a little bit, get her out of position before she goes in for a strike. Zark is maintaining her defense really well. She knows that her legs don't matter. She's focusing on the importance of defending her body and her head, keeping that sword in, and it worked. Shay jumped in, and Zarka kept her sword in enough to get the kill. Awesome job. Alright, so we're going to fight again. Again, you can see how much more relaxed Shay is because of how much more open her stance is. She's not focused so much on that center line defense that we're seeing either, and I think it comes from the fact that she knows Zarka so well. She knows how it works, and she's comfortable with how Zarka fights, and so she opens up. Yep, you can see it. She's still maintaining that really center line, but she's much more loose with her stance and with her actions compared to earlier. And Zarka's doing really well at like maintaining that nice strike, that nice striking stance, waiting. Yeah, they're just having a lot of fun. They're just having a lot of fun. Good use of range. Good prodding. See that bouncing? I know that they're having fun, which doesn't really matter, but that bouncing is an indicator of someone who's kind of revving themselves up to strike, and we saw that she started bouncing, kind of just really kind of priming herself for that strike, and then she presses. If you're paying attention to that, you can know when someone might be prepping to press you. And again, they're having fun, so it doesn't really matter as much. It's always a lot more exaggerated than it might have been in a normal fight. Alright, so now we got Blaze and Ladrona. So we're going to watch to see if Blaze's speed to kind of quickly return things is going to be able to best Ladrona's refuse and pouncing kind of techniques to really return those strikes against Blaze. But yeah, that stance, Ladrona's refuse stance, is keeping Blaze from really bringing the fight to him. He knows that is a very it's not, you don't want to just run into that. He's got to do something. He's Ladrona's just waiting for the pounces, and then that quick return. I don't know exactly who got the kill, but they got it. Alright, so again, that refuse stance saying stay back, don't. You'd be silly to come at me right now. But now Ladrona's watching the opportunity that Blaze gets a little lax, or maybe when he strikes and quickly return. Looks like Blaze got in just faster, just a little bit faster than Ladrona could respond with that pounce, but she was ready for it. She knew it was coming. Ooh. Now we got Velkhana and Veron. Again, two power strikers. Like I was telling you earlier with Velkhana, like he stands there and waits and power strikes. Veron has a tendency to do the same things at times. Waits, power strike. So we're going to see a lot of those in this fight. They're going to wait. They're not going to have a conversation like Edward does, but they're going to power strike and then go into a flurry, reset. Power strike, go into a flurry. Veron is so bendy. Being able to get in, close that distance, drop down, go for the draws, like, it's so impressive. It's so hard to defend against too. Like, you really have to be familiar with Veron's patterns and how he likes to move. And you almost have to anticipate where he likes to move, and position yourself there to either catch it or to negate it, if you really want to stop some of Veron's combos. And that just comes from familiarity. I can tell you, it's a tough thing to learn, but it can be. You just got to be familiar with how a fencer moves, and you can really kind of hone in on those key details. So again, we're watching power strikes, power strike, both power strike at the same time, and a flurry. Really impressive. That went to Veron. Alright, I think that is, I'm watching for some fingers, because I think that was the end of round 3. Man, everyone's doing so well. They're definitely breaking for a second, so... Yep, there it is. Reynolds. Yep, there it is. There's the fingers. So, round 4. Second to last round. We've been seeing a lot of really good fencing, and so we're getting to the point where, with the fact that he was doing a Swiss tournament, everyone gets to keep fighting. I love that aspect of a Swiss tournament, and you're facing off against people who have similar standings to you. So you're not gonna, at this stage in the tournament, you're not gonna be facing somebody who has vastly different scores to you. You're gonna be facing people who are kind of at the, and it's not the same level, but have had a similar record in the tournament. So someone who's been winning a lot isn't going to be facing someone who's going to be losing a lot. Like, they're trying to match you with someone who's on that equal standings, in the bracket. So that's what getting to the end of these fights is you're going to be seeing much tighter fights, because people have similar track records within the tournament. So right now we have Vilcana and Edward fighting. I'm curious whether or not Vilcana will continue to use his power striking methods, and I'm sorry his head is cut off by my video. Sorry, Vilcana. Anyways, but it's also fun. You can see Edward wants to have a conversation. That's his tendency. He wants to have a conversation, but Vilcana's not having it. His sword is out of the way, waiting for those power strikes. So Edward's looking for an opportunity, maybe trying to bait Vilcana to strike, and then he can return, or beat him to punch, like that. But Vilcana backed out. Power strike. Strike. Yeah. And you saw how Edward uses his whole body to defend himself. Like, he's really good at not just throwing his blade out there. He's also good about, like, I'm going to move my head out of the way. I'm going to adjust just enough that if you were planning my head to be right here, you have to adjust mid-strike because I've moved. Yeah, see, Vilcana's trying to get some sort of traction with his power strikes, but it gives Edward an opportunity. And that was a beautiful use of footwork to get the kill, not just the blade work. So let's watch that real quick again. So on that kill, what you're going to see is Edward is completely extended, and he uses his feet to bring it in for the kill. I think it's once Edward changes positions, he comes back out, they call back his arm, point of honor. So right there, see, he extends completely, and he uses his feet to get the kill. That's really impressive, and that's the right way of doing it. Because it's not always about the speed of your arm. Your feet can also get you the kill, which Edward just demonstrated, which is awesome. Power strike. Again, Vilcana wants traction, but Edward is not giving him anything. Got a quick arm shot, which is going to make things tougher for Edward. Good footwork. Yeah. Dancing in. Vilcana's waiting. Nice. See, power strike goes into a flurry. And it's so good. It's so fun to see people take advantage of that space ball. And Martin showed us earlier, Vilcana just did the same thing. Being willing to rotate and move in the circle or move in the round can really open things up. Click flurry. See, yep. Moves to the back. Really opens up that fight. Whereas if you just kind of stayed in that linear fashion, you might get stuck because you run into your opponent, you can't move. But feeling willing to move around, open a lot of doors. Wonderful pass. Whew. I think Belcano was lucky to get out of there with his life if he didn't get the kill. Because yeah, you saw Edward, like he kept on it, even rotating, even changing directions. Like Edward kept the pressure up, and that really kept Belcano on his heels. I'm really impressed with Belcano for not dying in that flurry. Like Edward had it, in my opinion. But yeah, Belcano did really well. Again, I'm cutting off Belcano's head. Glad to see him again. But he got Edward's arm. So again, this is going to be tough because that power strike is going to come in, and the flurry will follow if it gets any traction. I think Edward's using his footwork and his rotating around to try to negate those strikes. Oh, missed the. You can see it. He just missed the shot. Like Edward came in to strike, couldn't get the block in as Valkana shot low, and just Edward almost ran himself onto Valkana's blade. That was a really impressive fight from both of them. Thanks for getting in the way. You two. Alright, next up we got Dawn and Tilly. Alright, so they're chit-chatting. Alright, so it's like Tilly's bringing the fight immediately to Dawn. She's been doing it all night and it's working for her. But again, you see how Dawn's so methodical with his steps. Like, he's just very measured in how he retreats, how he comes back. His footwork is easy and allowing him to give a lot of focus onto his sword work so that if there's an opening, he can maneuver his tip in online.
Oh, Damien's here.
So again, that measured retreat just prevents that closing distance and just kind of discourages someone from continuing their onslaught. Because what Tilly really wants to do, see, right there, she really wanted one of those low shots, but Dawn was able to maneuver in and keep his point online as she reached. All right, so now we got Martin and Jacob.
Highest rank.
All right, this is going to be a good fight. Let's see what happens. I'm curious how they're going to address each other. Martin starts circling. Jake circles as well. They're having a very distant conversation. Oh, look at that press. Look at that press in. I know Martin probably wanted to be a little bit closer, but Jacob was keeping him back. But that was really good. He covered a lot of ground. Anyways, good control. Look at that angled shot, Martin.
Okay, there's a lot of
Go over the back and everything just to turn. Ooh, that was impressive. Yeah, I think Martin just beat Jacob to the punch on those presses. I think his angles, his ability to cover distance really just kind of threw Jacob for a loop. Jacob was well defended, but it turned out in Martin's favor. All right, so Ladrona now. Okay, so again, Ladrona seems to be a little bit more willing to pounce earlier against Art based off that last fight. Yeah, right there. I think she got him. I think Art got her the first time with a low shot. She got him the second time. Low. Oh, that bum. Again, that low shot. He's tall, but he goes low and gets their leg. And so now Ladrona she's lost her ability. You know, she can't do her fuse the way that she wants. She can't pounce the way that she wants. So it really comes down to whether or not Ladrona can rebuff Art's shots and get him in range. Let's see what Art does. So Art's thinking about it. He knows that Ladrona is still very much a threat, which she is. Okay. Ooh. Okay, close. Close. Nice. See, and Art is using his range to his advantage. His long arms, his height, means he can strike almost with impunity. And I think that just works out in his favor in this moment because yeah, Ladrona just never had the range to actually get the shot on him. She might have been able to get his arm, but yeah, he was keeping back really well. All right, so next up we've got Robin and Olvade. I don't expect this to be as long of a fight as what Olvade was with Elydri. Robin is usually pretty good about bringing the fight in and defending. He has a good balance of offense and defense. But you can see Olvade is still probing. He's still looking for opportunities. Yep, right there. Nice. Nice, Robin. Yeah, Olvade's probing and keeping that distance, and Robin made the choice to close that distance really quickly. And it put Olvade a little bit on his heels. Which, again, they went off screen, so I can't see if they got the kill. But I think this would be a moment where it looks like Robin might have gotten that kill. Always using his range. Robin back. Oh, and then Robin closes distance. And I think, from the looks of it, I think Olvade got his tip in as Robin was closing. See, Robin just comes in really hot when he wants to press, and it can really, if he, and with that offhand, like I was telling earlier, he can get that sword out of the way, he can move in safety, he can do a lot of things in that press. No doubt. So next up we got Maytag and Zarka. So let's see if Zarka's defense, how she maintains her defensive line, can best Maytag's kind of keeping her at bay with his range. Oh, looks like you got her arm. It's fun. It's fun when you see somebody take a circular path. You can close distance in a really interesting way that sometimes can open up and give you an opportunity that you wouldn't have if you just struck at straight on. So Maytag used that to his advantage to kind of circle and strike as he moved across that path rather than kind of moving and then moving straight in. See, and that's the game. Maytag has that range, and if you stay far enough away, he has all the advantage. Which, he can attack consistently because he can attack you before you can ever reach him, which makes it really tough to challenge his closing that distance. And now, being legged, Zarka doesn't have that opportunity. Her defense is solid, but Maytag's range, it's a question of, can that be overcome? Can she get him in? And yeah, you can see it. He's just reaching for it. Zarka didn't have it. She's leaning back. She lost all the ability to kind of reach back at him. So, all right. Next up is Silas and Elydri. Yeah. Okay. Handle this. I'm curious who's going to bring the fight in. Who's going to lead out? Oh, it's Elydri. She's been kind of bouncing back and forth between defense and offense throughout the whole tournament, which is fun to see, and it's good to have that variety and keep your opponents on their toes. Silas using that refuse stance, kicking her back. Nice, good strikes. See, Elydri is demonstrating how powerful those kind of, they're not necessarily fading shots, but they're shots as your opponent kind of closes in. Not only can they, one, potentially allow your opponent to run directly into him, it can also kind of prevent your opponent from continuing in the direction they want. It stops momentum. It kind of breaks that that action or that momentum
I'm
of your
glad that
opponent.
friend's as old as you.
I love seeing this finger.
Ooh, nice.
Anyways, sorry for the distraction. So again, I think Elydri is really kind of gumming up Silas's game by keeping him at bay, keeping him back. He wants to get in close and use those angles and that footwork to his advantage, but she's keeping him away. And she's retreating really well, so as he presses, it's discouraging him from moving in. But Silas is looking for those angles, those unique shots that might give him an opportunity. And Silas is doing some of the same things to Elydri, but in a slightly different way. Elydri wants to return. Like, Silas presses, she returns, and then overwhelms. Silas is making sure that she doesn't have as many opportunities to return against him until he's completely reset. So that way he can reset in a much safer manner, in a much more relaxed. So you're not worrying about someone just like bowling you over as you're trying to reset and find your ground again.
Oh, people laugh. Yeah.
See, I think the key moment to strike is when the feet move, that step. That commitment to one foot or the other at mid-step can usually provide an opportunity. I think if either one of them were to jump on an opportunity when the other steps, I think they might have an easier time getting in. But their defense is really solid. Yep, it looks like Elydri broke through Silas's defense. I think he got a little close and stayed a little closer than he had been the rest of the fight. That gave Elydri an opportunity. Alright. No idea what's going on here. But we got Shay and Becca going. If I had to predict how this fight was going to go, I think Shay is going to bring the fight to Elydri. And you're going to see either Elydri's defense break down to Shay's onslaught, or you're going to see Becca take it back against her. So yeah, she's keeping it there. You can see that Shay's leaning forward more. Interesting. Shay's being more defensive, so Becca is the one kind of bringing the fight in. She's the one prodding a little bit more. I think Shay's waiting for an opportunity to press. Nice strike. That was a really... Becca jumped at just the right moment where Shay, I think, was just about to pounce, but Becca beat her to it. Took advantage of the focus on offense to get through the defense. Alright, so I think Shay's turned... Oh, she got her armed. I think that's 1 point Becca, 1 point Shay. I think it's even up, so now the question is Shay going to bring the press in against Becca? Oh, there it is. Yep, there it is. Okay. Shay, get her... Okay, good retreat. Very nice. From the looks of it, I think Becca was expecting half a second more to press back in on Shay, but Shay didn't let her have it. Shay kept the pressure up, which I think really tightened it up, and I think they might have done a double. But I also think the fight went to Shay. Yeah, so that pressure, even just a half a second of pressure, can really keep your opponent from turning the fight back around on you, which Shay did so well in that last fight. Oh, so yep, it's another non-lethal buy with Luna, so it looks like we're seeing Shay fight again. Alright. Again, we're seeing classic Shay moves of reaching out, keeping their opponent at bay, but Luna closes in. Shay's legs. She's reaching out, keeping Luna back. Again, there's that balance you have to strike when you're legged, is how much do you let your opponent come in and how much do you want them to stay away. It's a balance, because you let them come in, you have an opportunity, but you're risking your own life. Keep them away, you can stay alive, but there's nothing really you can do about it. So you have to strike that balance. We got some lights off. Brief pause. You can see that Shay's hoping to get Luna legged, so then it's equal terms again. So I think Shay's strategy right now is keep Luna back until she can get a leg shot, and then it's essentially an equal fight again. Yep, it worked. Keeping Luna back reduced the amount of times that Luna could strike at Shay effectively, which gave Shay more time to get a leg shot in. So Shay was doing really well to play the long game there. Not to be impatient. Control. Yeah, that's so tough. Having that pinned, her sword pinned down like that, it's like, what can you do at that point? More. Let's see. Again, you can see how well Luna has worked on being able to try to claim someone's sword and control it with her blade. Like, she wants to maintain that contact and take control. She's doing really well at addressing the blade. She knows that is one of the keys to coming in. Like, you would be unwise to come in and close distance until you've addressed their blade, and Luna knows that. Looks like that press gave Shay an arm. Nice. Press. Luna kept her point online. It's kind of negated the press. Let's see. Stay focused. All right. Again, Luna's watching. She's having a rethink. And she's having this sword conversation. Wants to control the blade. She's moving in. Shay's retreat was able to get her away, and Shay was able to get that leg shot, which is, again, it reduces Luna's options. The question is whether or not Luna is going to be able to get the shot in as Shay closes. We know Shay will eventually close distance. And so if Luna can keep her tip in online, then she'll probably have an opportunity. Good offhand. Oh, she lost it. Good point control on Shay's part to get that. Good. Look at, see, really good maintaining control of the blade. I think they got a headshot on Luna, but it's a non-lethal buy, so it's all good. All right, this is, I think, the last fight of round 4. This is Veron and Blaze. So again, two very fast fighters. So you see it. I think Blaze has a tendency to use his footwork, so we're going to see Blaze retreat more, and we're going to see Veron bring the fight to him. But you're going to see Blaze retreat and then move back in really quickly, and I think Veron will just retreat just as quickly as you see Blaze, kind of using its bendiness to his advantage. So it's going to be interesting how this pans out. It was a really good fight first time around. Yep, you got that power strike with a retreat, keeping the distance. Blaze knows, hey, I got to keep my range. Power strike moves in real fast, really nice, really good, and that was really fast for Veron to drop. Like, he maintained. There's nothing in the rules that says you have to stop the momentum of a fight to address getting armed or legged. You can stay in the fight as you drop as long as you address it immediately. And Veron does that really well. He's really fast at that reacting. So like if you're not prepared for it, he can drop and still be fighting you. But while you think, okay, I'm gonna give him a second, like it's chivalrous of you, but in a tournament, you got to keep your eyes open to possibilities that they're gonna keep fighting. I think they rotated to keep it so that everybody can see. I remember right. Yeah. So now the question is Veron is leaning back. This is one of his strategies for fighting when he's legged. So what you have here is you have his foot, and that's essentially saying like this is it's a subtle way of subtle trick of saying to your opponent, don't come any closer than this point. Okay, but the problem is how he's positioned himself is he's given him all this space, and then he leans back. He leans backwards. So what that does is it makes it so that for Blaze to get in, he essentially stops here and then has to reach all the way in before he can get a strike on Veron. And Veron will even at points like lay down on the ground to really increase that up if you commit to it. But what Veron does is he keeps his sword onto his side and he'll strike in from that side strike. So like while you're standing here, you've essentially entered a death zone. Like you stand here, like Veron has the advantage in the sense that he has the range now, and you're standing in the most optimal position for him to still strike at you, while he can use his body positioning to make it harder for you to strike at him. So it's a really subtle trick, and so the trick that I find is to not stand here. You don't want to stop here. You want to come into this spot, or you want to come into the spot over here or over here. Like, don't stand in that kill spot, because that's exactly where Veron wants you to stand. Right. So again, that foot is subtly telling Blaze, don't come any closer than that. So you see that? See, he comes into that kill spot, and Veron has all he hasn't lost anything. His strikes are still strong. He comes in from the angle, and you're standing right where his tip is going to end up. And so Veron's just waiting and waiting. He's hiding his blade. He's hiding his intention. He's just using his foot to kind of point you to the spot where X marks the spot where he wants you to stand, so that he can strike. Let's see. Again, and it's tough because Blaze knows that he's right there. Yeah. Yeah, I think Blaze got it though, but it was I don't know who got it, but yeah. Power strike. Really quick exchange, power strike, and that lunge. Yeah, I think Blaze got that thing, and he was able to just beat Veron's strike on that when he was legged, and now Veron got that lunge in on him.
Okay. He just has overactive collarbone. I'm just checking.
See, and I felt for this in the middle of the fight. This is really tough. In the middle of a tournament, to have something that distracts you and pulls you away from the fight is really tough, because you're mentally in the zone in the fight, and then something pulls you out of it. Like, you have to be really controlled to bring yourself back in really quickly the way that you need. Okay, so Veron's using it. He's using his stance. He's almost using his stance to kind of, what's going on? What's being weird? I've never fought this before, and that's a mental way of kind of asserting dominance. Whew, look at that flurry. Yeah. That was a really good flurry, and Blaze just ran out of room. Blaze had the right action, the idea of treating, but he ran out of room, and it just got caught on one leg, and Veron just kept throwing shots in until it got one in. Such a good fight, though.
normal stuff out of your opponent, out of your favor, and heart of woodland.
All right, so I think this is round 5.
Okay, so this round is the formal round. So you're going to be bowing to your noble opponent, to the person's favorite generic card. This is all fancy stuff now.
So I think they're establishing some what's the word? Pomp and frill. Yeah, pomp and frill. A lot of tournaments sometimes you don't want to do some big salutes all the time, but I mean, in a big serious tournament, you do want to have some pomp and frill. So I think they're just establishing that. If I remember right, this final round where they're fighting their final fights, they want to salute to. I think typically it's person who you hold bear, the heart of woodland, and your noble opponent. So I think pomp and frill personally is one of those situations where it is what you make of it. I mean, I think that's awesome. I think it really kind of harkens back to what fencing is about, where it's not just about straight up combat. There's a mentality and a philosophy about fencing and an experience that you can get while fencing that if you ignore some of the pomp and frill, the rituals, the ideology of fencing, that you miss out on if you just focus solely on the fighting. And so I think it's always a fun reminder in a tournament to have a little bit of pomp and frill to remind you that there's more to fencing than just the fight. Yeah. So Tilly looks like she's marshalling out, just kind of leading salutes.
Bow towards your wife. Opt it.
And then lastly, please bow to the heart of woodland. And then for glory and all that. All right.
Opponent, favor bear, favor bear, and the heart of woodland. All right, so we got Robin and Jacob. So again, we've seen consistent presses from both of these guys throughout the fight. So the question is whether or not Robin goes in first. I was curious if Robin was going to wait and hesitate, but Robin's not afraid. He's not intimidated by Jacob. And Jake is so good at he knows presses like the back of his hand, and so he knows not only how to do presses but also how to rebuff them. His tip control and his ability to hinge is spot on in that close range. So I mean, good on both of them. So let's see, is Jacob going to take it this time, or is he going to let Robin come in? Or is Robin going to take it and try to surprise Jacob? Yep, there goes Robin. Nice. That is such good pressure on Robin's part. He maintained that pressure all while Jake is using every trick in the book to try to negate it. And Jake's experience kept him alive right there. He did everything right. He retreated. He kept his sword in. He kept his hand in. He didn't just back up directly. He moved at an angle, like all of the right moves. But Robin kept the pressure up and followed right along. Looks like Robin took that one. So yeah, like really impressive. That was an excellent display from both of them. All right, so now we got Tilly and Maytag. Again, history shows Maytag's game is range. Can Tilly overcome that? And Tilly's game today has been pressing. So it's the right move. Closing distance is the right move when you're playing against someone who's using range. Question is, can you do it? And Tilly comes in so fast, so tight. There it is. Look at that. All right. That point to Maytag. I think Tilly got an arm shot and Maytag got a gut shot. But yeah, you negate that range by closing that distance. Oh, nice. Maytag got an arm. Hold it back, I think. Yep, that range. See, again, you have to throw yourself into the fight to overcome someone's range, but it's a risk. It's dangerous. Yes, we do. I mean, like, we do it safely, but what I mean is, like, you're really risking, you have to take address the blade, do all those sorts of things, and hope and pray that you can close the distance and surpass their range so that you can take advantage of your own range. And in this time, it didn't work out in Tilly's favor, but she was doing, again, everyone's doing all the right things in these fights. They recognize what's happening, what's being used, and they're making wise decisions. It just didn't turn out. So next up, we got Edward and Elidri.
Nobody got that. I was listening. I think you're funny. Come on, Edward.
Again, little conversation happening. They may not be making contact, but they're positioning. They're having this conversation with their feet, with their positioning, with their how they're distributing their weight between their feet. I think Edward is trying to dissuade Elidri from pouncing at him. He's using the tip of his sword to open things up a little bit, keeping his range back. Again, Edward's sense of range is impeccable. So he's just out of range of Elidri until she steps in. He immediately retreats. That refused to with that swooping step really dissuades Elidri from continuing her press. Good footwork. Defense right there. Conversation happening. Who's going to make the move? Just into range. Up Elidri goes. Defends, gets behind his sword, which really increases his defensive capabilities. Conversing. Oh, got the arm. Yeah, you got to be really careful with that. When two people are standing far enough away that neither one can strike, but they can reach each other's arms, like those tend to go really quick if you're not paying attention. Good return. Blocks. Edward did really well in maintaining contact with Elidri's blade, which kept her from really turning the offense against him. You can tell Elidri wants that block attack combo. She's looking for that so much. And Edward's doing really well at dissuading that. Right. Nice. Looks like Edward got a quick kill, and Elidri was just closed range just enough that Edward could reach her. Yeah. Alright, to reset. Power strike, turn. Edward loses his arm again. I think that's like the 5th time in this whole tournament he's lost that arm. Conversing, talking, strike.
You can do it, Edward.
Strike. Block. Oh, a nice solid press. Elidri retreated at an angle. Again, it's not always directly back. Sometimes the smartest move is to retreat at an angle or turn as you retreat. That can really throw off the press. Ow. Edward lost his other arm. That gives us 1 point each for them.
One of you, do it again.
Strike. Strike. But again, that range is preventing Elidri from really jumping back into the fight on the return. Ooh, yeah, there it is. Quick snipe. You see that those power strikes can really bust through a person's defense. Speed and angles can really make the difference to punch through someone's blocks and their guard. All right, so next up we've got Elkanah thought it was his turn, but it's Ladrona and Olvade. Alright. Yep, Ladrona goes straight into their feast and pounces almost immediately. Point of honor. I think they called something back. Good strikes.
Hi
Ovid
guys.
kept his point on and got Ladrona's arm. All right, reaching in, he's probing. Without that arm, Ladrona's moved into that forward stance a little bit more. And yep, goes to Olvade. Again, with that refuse stance does so well at preventing him from going in, but without it, and being left, being missing your primary hand, it's tough. Ladrona's using range really well. Olvade's still doing his thing of analyzing, looking for opportunities, moving around. He's constantly looking for new ways to get in. And that rotation really helps open things up sometimes. It makes it so that your information or the data you're receiving from a fight isn't stagnant.
I was thinking this is Sarah Silva. They better be able to do it better than we can.
Good bounce.
I think it was.
I didn't see it.
Nice. My goodness, this is the most honorable fight.
All right, point of honor. I think Olvade was asking if the shot was good on the head, and Ladrona took it back. So again, point of honor. Good job. Ladrona's adjusting her footwork a little bit, trying to see what opens up, trying to get in the groove again. Nice. That went to Olvade. Ladrona had the right move. It was a quick thing. I think Olvade just beat her out. She pounced. He struck. I think Olvade just got it. It's funny how often that happens. That thing where two fencers clash and only one walks away. So speed and that aiming really plays a large part of it, and it's a matter of seconds, even less than a second, half a second, milliseconds. I don't know. Can make the difference. You got Luna and Silas. Power strike Silas. Taking Luna back. Luna is reaching out, trying to take control. But it's really tough to take control of Silas's blade. Again, the angle. He's not afraid to drop his sword, twist it around, do whatever, spin it, anything. He's not afraid to do that, which can make it really tough to maintain contact. We're still seeing more of those angled strikes comes in, but turns it up. And, Luna's maintaining range really well. Good solid block. Nice. She got his blade for a second.
Well, that's one way to do it.
I think you see a lot of tendencies that you see from Martin and Silas because they've trained in Ironthorn together. So I think you see a lot of cut and thrust in Silas that he's picked up. And so you'll see those angles and that motion in a similar way that you would see Martin fight. Right, so they're definitely feeling each other out a lot. They're keeping each other back, keeping each other at bay. They're not looking for long exchanges in close. It's really they're looking for strike, and then back off. Strike, back off. Point to Silas. Yeah, 'cause sometimes you get those fighters that go in and they just flurry, where other fighters just kind of stay back and are looking for, I'm only going to do one or two passes before I have to reset. One or two strikes, no reset. Like, it's okay. It's totally valid. I mean, it works out because the longer that you're in an exchange with an opponent, your odds of dying increase for every moment that passes. So only doing really quick, almost like a guerrilla warfare tactic of come in, hit hard, and then back out, reduces your risk of dying because you're only in danger for a few moments. So if your opponent's just off on their timing a little bit, they miss out on strikes opportunities. Really nice pass. Can't see what Silas is doing, but that's okay. But yeah, so I think these guys are playing that they're doing a little bit more hit and run style of fighting each other. They're not looking for, you know, a slugfest between each other. Take control, strike. Point of honor. I think Luna almost got a kill shot on Silas. Held it back. She's doing really well in maintaining contact. After Silas lost his arm, it's been much harder for Silas to kind of break free. So she's able to maintain contact longer. Now she lost his legs. Oh, you got her arm. Yeah, see again, you let him in, you try to rebuff him, and then you strike as they go out. Oh, double arms. Always a fun moment. That's all Luna can do. There's nothing. You just got to give it to him. You lose both your arms, you can't do anything. The point goes to Silas. All right, these are the last 5 fights. So we've got Zarka and Becca.
Please bow to the heart of Woodlands. Zarka, are you ready? Becca, are you ready? For honor, chivalry, and glory.
Like quick press, really quick press from Zarka. She's really turned up the heat against Becca. See, and that's what I'm talking about with Becca. I mean, when she decides to go at you, it's not one strike, and it's not just 3 strikes. It's multiple strikes plus a press plus closing distance, all at the same time. I think after the last pass, I think Zarka's kind of pulled back a little bit, kind of not. She's not necessarily hesitating, but being a little bit more reserved. Good on Zarka for taking those. So honorable on those parts. Yeah, so that goes to Becca. We got Shay, who's participating in a non-lethal buy, and she can't fight herself, so it looks like Dawn filling in.
Are you ready? Ready. Jay, are you ready? Ready. For honor, chivalry, and glory.
All right. So again, we see Shay's reaching out. We see Dawn's tip and point control playing a part. They're keeping each other bay, and they're relying on quick point control to get in. Nice. Quick press. Keeping Dawn's tip out. Oh. Quick disengage. Got a kill. Oh, quick snipe from Dawn, right on the hand. That's tough. Right, nice conversation happening. All right. There goes the non-lethal blind. It looks like it's Art and Dawn fighting. So again, it's interesting. You know, at the very beginning we saw Dawn fighting Luna, and Luna fights low, and so Dawn fights high, and he can reach out and just go strike in. We've also been seeing Art fight low, and so the question is Art going to be able to strike in low fast enough and avoid Dawn just striking out at him as he goes in low? Haha, lost a sword. So probing shots go low. Looks like there's a double. Okay. Maybe there's an arm, I don't know. Switching hands. Again, I can't tell exactly if it's a kill or if they're just playing around. Might have been another double. Art is still fighting low, but you can see he's not committing himself to those low shots as much. I think he, except right there, and you saw Don had the right answer. Like, just reach out and strike him. If he's gonna go low, his head is exposed. And it looks like went to Art. Didn't see how. The angle was wrong, so I couldn't exactly tell what happened. But yeah, he wasn't as committed to those low shots until the very end. And it was definitely a risky move. I mean, Don knew where to strike, so Art made a gamble and it worked out. Alright, so this is our second to last fight with Blaze and Velkhana. It's going to be interesting to see how Blaze responds to Velkhana's power strikes and how Velkhana responds to Blaze's speed. I think we're going to see a lot of flurries in this fight. But I think it's a question of, can Blaze close distance during those flurries and break past Velkhana's range? That would be my prediction. So Velkhana's waiting. Power strike, then flurry, and then Blaze retreats and closes in. And we got each other's legs. Flurry, click, flurry, click, click, flurry.
No.
See, what's so interesting in this moment is you've essentially like taken away their, like, cow, you two. You've essentially taken away both of their bread and butters. Velkhana's power strikes and Blaze's quick footwork, and so now it becomes a test of blade work. And I'm not sure exactly who got it, but yeah, that was intense. Flurry, Velkhana's waiting, power strike, flurry, Blaze returns, quick. See that speed? Velkhana's using his range to try to keep Blaze back, but Blaze is trying to use his footwork and his quick hand to try to break through and kind of get Velkhana offline or kind of overextended. So Blaze, he knows he doesn't want to stay. He wants to use his footwork and then return. And I can't see exactly what's happening, so unless... Oh, there we go. Oh, looks like Velkhana lost an arm in that last pass. Oh, lost his other arm. Goes to Blaze. Alright, they stopped fighting, so Blaze must have gotten that fight down on the ground. So yeah, quick flurries. I mean, it can work out really well. And now we got Martin and Baron for the final fight. So again, my prediction for this is Martin has a tendency, he's really good at his presses, but Baron has his retreats. I also think Baron can strike from a little bit farther away than Martin. So I think it's a very interesting opening move. really asserting himself, trying to mentally claim that control from Martin. And Martin's cool and collected as always, but I think what's really tough for Martin in this case is that range that Veron naturally has with how stretchy he is. And so Martin is really looking for ways to close that distance, but it's such an uphill battle with someone who commands the range. Um, right there, that was a perfect moment for Martin. Perfect moment for Martin, and he got Veron's legs.
Oh, is it Victor Barron?
So they're calling it back. Point of honor to Martin. So I think Veron took the leg, and I think Martin's calling it that he got something in the chest. So excellent work on Martin. I think Martin made the right call in pressing that, and just got a tip in, and I think that unfortunately
Do we have any
let
ties?
it
That's
out.
what I'm worried about. Do we have any
So I'm going to end it right here. Just as a reminder, I think how it turned out. The tournament was the first place went to Veron, second place went to Blaze, and third place went to Art. Again, all three well deserved. So, but overall, I think everyone did an amazing fight. I mean, just watching those fights again in a little bit more detail, and there's so much more that I didn't mention. I didn't see or didn't notice because I was focusing on other things. But everyone really brought their A game to this tournament. It was such a wonderful, beautiful fight throughout. Points of honor, bound, chivalry, um, good attitude. They were so fun. You could tell that everyone was enjoying themselves and really had their skill on display. Um, and so I hope that as we go into the winter, I hope that everyone has an excellent time and keeps working on what they have been and be proud of what they did throughout this last season. So, again, I'd love to hear if anybody has any other comments or things they noticed throughout the fights. And if nothing else, at least we can talk more about this tournament because I think it's one worth remembering.